is A to Z with Mark Zinno, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, and it starts now.
Good afternoon. Welcome to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, where today I tell you, you're looking at this all wrong. Welcome in. We are live here on this Monday. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. We appreciate you starting your day with A to Z and Locked On Sports Atlanta. Give me a follow on Twitter at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno, at Locked On ATL, our entire network there. We've got a lot to do today. Plenty from the Falcons game to break down as well. Georgia, another dominating win. Braves sweep over the weekend, and all you fools still doubting Spencer Strider, shame on you. You're all losers. And I just said it out loud, so deal with it. All right, we've got tons to do today. And I wanted to start, obviously, with the Falcons. They lose to the Rams 31-27. You could argue the score was closer than the game really was. But I've been telling you guys this now for a couple of weeks, and I don't know why it's not sinking in to Falcons fans. I'm not sure why there is this sense that all of a sudden this team is supposed to be winning these games. Guys, the Falcons have lost 2 one-score games now, okay? Last year, their record in one-score games was 7-2. All 7 of their wins were by one score. This year, their record in one-score games, 0-2. That's called regression. It happens to every team in the NFL in certain statistical areas. It's really hard to be the top at everything every single year. But what's the bigger issue for me with Falcons fans is that you should not be upset about yesterday's loss at all. There's no reason for you to be upset. The Falcons flew cross-country to go play the defending Super Bowl champs who had extra rest and were ticked off for getting their butts kicked on opening night and hung with the team for 4 quarters. Well, they didn't hang with them for the first half. No, they didn't. They got back in it. They played 60 minutes of football. A lot of teams don't play 60 minutes of football. Go check the Cleveland Browns. Did they play 60 minutes? Go check the Las Vegas Raiders. Did they play 60 minutes? A lot of teams don't play 60 minutes, folks. Falcons played 60. Got themselves back in the game. Got themselves with a chance to win the game or take the lead very late in the game. What? I mean, what are you expecting of this team? The fact that this team is competitive is all you really need to focus on. Remember, this roster was the one that national pundits, I'm not saying anybody here in Atlanta, national pundits wrote off as one of the worst in the league. This roster, position-wise, was bottom 5 everywhere with the exception of tight end, interior defensive line, and cornerback. Everywhere bottom 5. This roster had the worst quarterback in the league, according to some subscriptions and websites and everything else. So how are they being this competitive? Well, they got a good coach. That's 1. They prepare really well. That's 2. And maybe, just maybe, the bottom of the scrap heap, guys that they pulled off, the bin inside Best Buy with all those old CDs that nobody really wants, that's just waiting for somebody to pick up for $1 a piece. Maybe those things are actually pretty good still. That's what this roster is. And yet, you almost beat your division rival and beat them for 3.5 quarters. And you almost came back and beat the defending Super Bowl champions. The hell are you upset about? You have to take a 30,000-foot view at this team. They are in a rebuild. They have $65 million in dead cap space. What are your expectations? It's laughable to think that you should have any expectations that are higher than this team being competitive. Because the important part about them being in games, it's a step in the rebuild process. It is absolutely a critical part of rebuilding. And the only way you're going to get better quicker is to make the guys who can play this year better. So when you put a roster together next year and you have cap space, guess what? You make big jumps. There is one more reason why you should not be upset about the loss yesterday. Tell you that in a minute. First, a word from my friends at BetOnline.net, the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find news and reviews of every single league out there. Of course, the NFL. There's so much content there for the NFL. Major League Baseball has their playoffs coming up, playoff push. NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they've got you covered with everything. Head to BetOnline today and use your mobile device as well to learn more about the action that is happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. 2 games tonight on Monday night, remember. The other reason that you should not be upset about anything that happened yesterday with the Falcons. How many times in years past would you have seen this team when they were down? Let me just double check my notes here. Bucs scored down 28-3. How many times would they have just rolled over and just got smoked the rest of the game and got blown out? Because remember, I told you guys that. That's all you ask for is not to get blown out this year. Don't get blown out. It may happen once, but don't get blown out in any game. Be in every game. They were in this game. They gave the champs all they could handle for 60 minutes. Be happy. Don't be the people who are expecting this team to make the playoffs. It's not realistic. You didn't think this was a playoff team when the season started. Why are you changing your opinion now after 2 games? Because they could have won them both? Okay, they could have. So what? Don't lead yourself and dupe yourself into thinking that they are capable of winning 10, 11, 12 games. They just don't have the horses in the barn. I mean, what you guys are doing right now by being upset that they're losing these games, you're like the guy who starts dating a girl and you think from the beginning, nah, this is never going to work. It's never going to work. Then she decides to leave you and be like, hey, I don't even want to do this anymore. And you get upset about it. Like, what do you mean? Well, how come you don't like me anymore? And your buddies are sitting there going to you, dude, you didn't even like her from the beginning. You said it wasn't going to work. What are you upset about? Oh, well, I guess I started to like her. I mean, you said from the beginning this wasn't a playoff team. What are you upset about? This is not a team that is built to be a playoff team. And that's not a pejorative. They just don't have the talent. They got the coach. They got some pieces. But 1-53, they don't have enough. I told you all this wasn't the worst roster in the league, and Mariota wasn't the worst quarterback in the league. But still, it ain't top half in either one of those categories. And if you'd like to be a playoff team, considering 14 of 32, which is, trending in the 40% range, you're not in the top half of everything. Guess what? Probably not going to be a playoff team. That's just reality. It is absolute reality. So there's nothing for you to be upset about. Literally, you guys, Falcons fans should be smiling from ear to ear, objectively. I get it. Nobody likes losing. Hi, I hate losing. I am a sore loser. 40 years old. I still freaking hate losing. So I get it. But wins at this point are secondary. And everybody understands that. Everybody understands that. They're trying to win. They want to win. They believe they can win. But ultimately, sometimes the results of the process they're doing don't always match. Happens. Be a process over results guy. The process right now is working. You're coaching up guys who are not that good. Bill Parcells always used to say, I can't put greatness into players, but I could pull greatness out of them. Arthur Smith's starting to do that. He's pulling some greatness out of some of these guys. That's the positive you got to take away from it. All right, speaking of being great, one of the guys they drafted that they expect to be great didn't really get a chance to be great yesterday, and people are mad about it. I'll tell you why you don't need to be that mad next, right here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast, search Locked On Sports Atlanta.